Good morning. My name is Uttam Shah. I am the Vice President of Marketing at JK Technosoft, and I'm your host for today's webinar. So over the last couple of years, we have partnered with a few Progress users to maximize the return on their transformational projects, and this topic is an outcome of that collaboration. The word digital is the next truth, which is disruptive, and we noticed that Progress users have a typical challenge while they continue to explore or experience this digital journey. So we have a great panel today from JK Technosoft, comprising of Mr. Praveen Kumar, who is the head of our digital service, and Prabhu Jha, our Progress Technology Evangelist, who will share JKT's experience in more detail so that you can get a good value out of your time spent today. Some housekeeping. The session is going to last for approximately 20 to 25 minutes between the two speakers, and will followed by 10 minutes of question and answer. While during this entire session, you are free to type in your questions using the Q&A window on the top right side of your window. So without much ado, let me hand it over to our first panelist, Praveen Kumar.
Thanks, Uttam. Good morning, everyone. As Uttam said, my name is Praveen, and I lead the digital practice in JK Technosoft. Now, during this webinar, we'll talk about some of the experiences that we have had in the digital transformation journey working with one of our customers. But before we move there, I would like to give some pointers based on some leading consulting companies and studies by them recently done in the last quarter of 2016 around this whole digital transformation and digital experience. And this survey was done with top 500 companies in the world across continents. And few of the pointers, if you see, as the first one says that majority of the more than 50% of the CEOs expect their industries to be substantially transformed by digital. Now, when we say substantially transformed by digital, it is in terms of getting their processes connected, ensuring the Internet of Things and connected devices, and all sort of things. Then we also say that by 2020, 50% of the IT budget will be tied up to digital transformation initiatives, which can be around bots, machine learning, M2M, data analytics, and etc. And as we speak, about 22% of the enterprises advance their digital transformation initiatives right now, and it is going to be about 50% by 2020. Now, the purpose of putting this data together in front of everyone is to apprise about what is happening now and what is going to be in the future when it comes to digital transformation. Now, in the next section, I would like Prabhu to take over and share his experience working with Progress users over the years and share some of the challenges that we have been facing in this digital transformation journey. Over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Praveen, and thank you, Uttam. So the idea of discussion today is about talking about how our Progress user industry, the application industry, or the Progress user base has over the years the kind of challenges they faced, and what will be our overall approach towards those challenges. So I would like to take a step back and over the years, almost 20 years and so, we have worked with the various customers, industries, and domains, and we are kind of seeing some trend of the challenges, which is I will not say common to all the bases, but it is at least few of the challenges exist in most of the places where we did the digital transformation or where we did the modernization. So on top of that, I will say the first challenges, which probably many of you can recognize, is lack of business process documentation. It is not something which is very, very universal in the nature, but in the many of the places where we walked in to do the transformation or do the modernization, this is the first challenges we faced, and it's not something which is nice to have that in terms of saying that you don't have the documentation, but it started with a nice initiative that they started keeping the documentation, but over the period somehow the document got out of sync. Somebody did some priority development and it never get documented, or it was out of the sync over the period of time. Another thing is when you talk about reverse engineering, because most of the time when you have to do back-to-back reverse engineering to do the things which is in the different for example, correct user interface or graphical user interface it was written, and business logic is tightly integrated, so you do the user use case development, you reverse engineer the things. The people who are pretty much who are maintaining or managing or involved in the development of the product or the systems over the year are the very key people who are still involved in doing the maintenance or supporting or operational part of it. So getting their time or getting their commitment to validate the reverse engineering, sometimes those people are not even there. So that becomes another set of challenge, because you have done the reverse engineering, but who is going to validate it? So that is another challenge we face most of the time. Starting from scratch approach, again, it is a big challenge for many of the smaller vendors, where the investment becomes very critical if it is not properly linked to the ROI, because you do the investment, but how do you ensure that it is linked with the proper business goal, it is linked with the ROI? So that part, Praveen is going to cover that, how to address that part. Data security, that's another challenge when you have a very close application architecture, or you have character user interface, graphical user interface. You never had to worry about the data security, because it's a very close application. I mean, you don't have to open to the web. It is locally installed, or it is running through the typical client server model. Suddenly you are opening to the web, mobile, or whatever omni-channel experience you're trying to bring in, and it becomes a big question because you have never faced that kind of open environment before. So sometimes a customer takes a step back. Really, my data is secure. I mean, shall I go for this, or shall I not go for this? So that challenge is and that question comes really across whenever we do this modernization. And another thing which is mostly overlooked is that sometime this modernization journey has taken with a step at the higher level, where a business user or the technical users kind of decide that, okay, this is the technology stack we'll use, and this is the screen going to be. End users get involved sometimes, they don't get involved fully, and because they are busy with other operational stuff. So when finally the application is ready and when it is rolled out, the acceptance is not there, the user acquisition is not there, user has not accepted it, they don't want you to use it, or they ask for something entirely different. So that's another challenge. So coming back to again that how these challenges are addressed, and giving back to the Praveen that how typically his approach in addressing these challenges, which may or may not be entirely related to the Progress world, but I'm seeing that it's very common across.
Yeah, thanks, Prabhu, and nicely outlined problems. And the last one, the user acquisition, is something which I really emphasize on, and we'll talk more about it going forward. But before we jump into the case and the solution and etc., I just want to take a minute to understand what is digital transformation and digital experience really in a nutshell. And more often than not, I've faced with this conversation that when we talk about digital transformation, we mainly talk about technology like mobile, web, data analytics, big data, Angular, Node, so many things, But actually, digital transformation is more about strategy first, and technology plays an enabler role or the differentiator role. But the first thing first in digital transformation is the strategy. Then only it is going to go in the direction of improved customer satisfaction and increased revenue. And we'll talk more about it in future slides. And when we talk about digital experience, which is the terminology we generally used interchangeably these days, is more about how this digital transformation is going to touch the customers. So, for example, a few aspects of digital experience is that it should be customer-led. So customer in the middle and everything is around that customer. There are applications which are connected even today without having this digital transformation. But the important point about this digital experience is that when connected systems have continuous flow of information, the continuous is the key word here. And the last two things at the bottom, if you see, it's more about making sure that the experience is reaching to the customer at a pace and it's not stalled. And we are not waiting for the best fit solution, and we're going with the right fit to the users, getting some feedback and then improving on that. So that's sort of in a nutshell what digital transformation, digital experience is. And I also want to quickly cover general industry approach. So I've worked with variety of customers over the years in this whole digital transformation journey. And generally this is what, in my experience, has been the approach so far, where we start with defining the digital strategy. More often people come and say that we want to build this application, or I want to implement big data analytics in the system. But first thing first, having a digital strategy is very important, which is mapped to the business goals so that we can have a number, a dollar value assigned to every item that we are putting into digital strategy. Then moving on to UX, which is primarily empathizing with the end users and the customers. Then doing the continuous delivery. And at the end, as I said earlier also, user acceptance, which actually starts with the UX process, but getting completed at the end and certified by having equivalent customer satisfaction score, which is the CSS. Again, the key considerations is it's first about strategy and then technology. In my experience, I've seen that it takes a lot of courage in this whole digital transformation exercise, because most of the time the CEOs need to take a step back before moving forward, which obviously requires some initial investment. But the vision should be there that we're going to get improved ROI. Now with this, I want to move on to our next segment, where we are really going to talk about a real case study which we have done and still in the final stages of completing that. And let Prabhu talk about the customer background and the challenges that they faced earlier. Over to you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen. So when we walked to this particular customer and when we started their digital journey, I'm not going into the details that what customer does and what not. I mean, they are typically household specialty wood products, and they have a specialized ERP for their type of industry. And this ERP was written in initially it was written in Progress version 6, and then it was migrated to version 8. So it was a character user interface, and then later it was migrated to version 8 in the graphical user interface. So the challenges was, business has defined certain challenges that there's a lot of manual process, and due to this manual process and due to several, semi-connected or, disconnected system, they are doing some sort of batch-based transaction or some sort of asynchronous, integration is happening, and that is causing the delay of certain business processes and all that. So the operational challenges or operational impact was that they were losing certain revenue because of they were not able to replenish the inventory on time, and although reporting structure was pretty robust, but they are not able to get the report on time because the data is coming from here and there from different systems or different modules, and data has to be taken through the batch process and all that kind of stuff. It's typical situation. So out of those challenges which we have discussed in the beginning, a few challenges were obviously exist here. There's a lot of lack of business process documentation, and then the people who are supposed to validate it, when we do the reverse engineering, that was a very occupied people. So it is getting their time was a super challenge here as well. And obviously, here also in terms of decision making, they are already done some business goal definition, and they had some thought process around the technology part without giving the proper flow. So that's where I think when we work with the Praveen, then probably we have taken the proper approach. But here is the architecture which the application had. It's a typical, nothing fancy about it. It's a typical architecture where the presentation layer or maybe the screens have rigid frames, and few part of the application was in the GUI, few part was in the character user interface. And business logic was tightly written in many of the places on the screens. Initially it started with the pretty nice flow, but then over the year, business logic was written here and there, and it becomes a spaghetti from that point of view. Integration layer was not properly defined. So it is also, written, sometimes the business logic, sometimes within the screen itself. And there's a lot of disconnected modules in the system, which was talking to each other through the various batch processes, and if some batch process fail in the night, next morning they come to know it, by the way, it's failed. So then they have to do something. So that was causing the whole chaos. And a lot of unmanaged data source, some flat file system or some other, systems which was talking to each other. And obviously all that integration was happening through a very, very old-fashioned way. So, and when we, our digital lab with the Praveen, when we walked in, then we, said that, okay, let's take one step back and let's take a proper structured approach. And Praveen is going to explain you how we took this. Yeah.
Thanks, Prabhu. And I still remember the first meeting that we had with the vice president of the company, where he explained that they're looking for a mobile development work to be done by JKT. But then, as you said, the approach that we took was based on our digital transformation framework, which we have in-house. And there are certain stages in the digital transformation framework which we generally go through with every customer. And I'll just explain that framework, and we'll also relate that back to this current case study that we're talking about. So first thing first, as I told earlier also, that we need to have a set of goals defined. So something like 10 for 2018, that these are the 10 things that I want to achieve in this year, which can be, in driving efficiency costs, generating more revenue, increasing customer base, new product launch. With this customer, as Prabhu said, they had this thing identified already, that driving efficiency and the cost, and launching a new product, a mobile product really for their users, were the two business goals. And then moving on to, as I was saying, that in the general industry practice, we also follow a digital strategy definition process, in which instead of just saying that we want to develop a mobile app, we go through certain steps, like target geography and accessibility, for example. That what are geographies this is needed? What are the competitors' state right now? How do we realize the ROI? So with every business goal in the previous step, we assign a dollar value, and then in the strategy, when we make the specific actions, we make sure that is tagged back to the business goal, which has a dollar value assigned. And then the other most important thing that we do, that instead of customer saying that I want to develop a hybrid app in Telerik Kendo, for example, we say that let's look at your current technology landscape, and what is your future technology stack going to be, and what is then best suited based on the requirement that you have, and we propose a technology set. Now in this case, we had workshops to discuss target geography and accessibility, ROI realization, and customer technology landscape mapping. Then we move to the third phase, where we do the prioritization and release planning, where we list out all the business requirements after having the workshops with the key business stakeholders, and again that map every single business requirement back to the business goal, which is again mapped back to the ROI. And then we prioritize that and prepare the release plan and sprint plan. We did the last 3 out of the 4 items in the prioritization and release planning phase with this customer. And then we move to one of the most important part, which is UX, where we generally do information architecture, where we ensure that the process flow is maintained in the form of frames and wireframes. Then usability engineering, which maps back to the emotional aspect of the user, content strategy covering the text, the videos, the images, etc. Interface design, actually putting real colors in there, and then constant feedback sessions. That's what UX strategy that we follow. With this customer, we did the information architecture, we did usability engineering, we did interface design, and obviously we had feedback sessions. Then the next part was obviously continuous delivery, where we build, we verify, we validate, and we ask customer to certify before we go live. Of course, since it was a full life cycle development, we did all of it in this case. And then, as we speak right now, we are doing the UA and CSS, which is user acquisition and customer satisfaction score. We are having user workshops and training sessions with the customer, and we will be having a customer satisfaction score based on Net Promoter Score method by March 2017. Now, apart from this, we also have a digital lab, which we say, where we really do 3 things. One is positive surprises to the customers in form of delivering some innovative ideas, some POCs or R&Ds which is needed, and some real innovation work based on the customer business. With this customer, we did one POC and R&D in the digital lab, which was actually requiring the mobile application to be connected to a specific hardware device and we had to write some plugins for that, which I'll tell you in the subsequent slides. So that's sort of the framework that we generally follow in our company, and we followed exactly almost every step with this case study. And just moving on the right technology set and tool set, we obviously have a variety of tools and technologies that we work on, but for this specific case study, we went with Telerik Kendo, of course, because of the licensing advantage that we had, and we also went through Angular too because of the responsive web requirement which they had. And then this was a sort of the revised architecture where on the UI layer we made sure that there's a Kendo package with Telerik for hybrid mobile application development, and Angular for responsive web, giving us an omni-channel view to end customer. Then we had the REST service adapter layer where which actually made sure that this application is not built for just now, and it is completely scalable, connected to the Progress database because that is where the core data is sitting. Then we also built a reporting module to generate reports on the fly for the VPs and CXOs. And we also did the predictive analytics, which is IoT-based analytics solution for the customer, where they can actually predict the machine behavior in the manufacturing plants beforehand. And as you see, there's a device integration work which we did in this, where this digital lab came into the picture, where we completed that POC for the customer and moved on. Now, after this implementation, we also went with the customer with a session that what values that we added to the client business. It does look like a standard software development project, but what we did was, apart from developing and delivering some software such as mobile, web, backend, data analytics, and reporting, what we also did was that to ensure that there's a digital strategy sitting with the customer with a proper roadmap and planning. That ensures one of the problems that Prabhu mentioned earlier, because as part of that process, we also did make sure that there's enough business process documentation ready with the customers, just enough. So that is one value add that we did to the customer. Obviously, some process level implementations as part of application development, which was stock inward process and inventory check process automation, which increases accuracy and efficiency. Some reporting on the fly for VPs and CXOs. But one of the more important things that we achieved during this exercise was inculcating the digital mindset and awareness to the end users and end customers of this application. Because initially there were resistance, but with our user acquisition strategy and the process that we follow, we ensured that they understood the value and the need of this digital transformation, and they accepted the future roadmap as well. They started participating more actively in the workshops because we are moving on to the next phase of this journey, which actually is a good value add when it comes to the customer IT team and to us as JKT as well. So that's the overall what the case study was, how did we go about it, and what value that we deliver to the customer. And some of the key takeaways is that when we go through this digital transformation, we do the assessment first, build the strategy and the roadmap along with UX, continuously deliver things which are mapped to the business goals and ROI, work closely with the users with a defined user acquisition strategy, quantitative measurement by the means of customer satisfaction and increase ROI, need to have a rich technology stack, obviously, but also to spend some energy around predictive analytics, IoT, cybersecurity, as Prabhu said, is one of the challenges that we need to make sure that we look after. At this point, I would just like to take a pause and hand over to Uttam to take this forward. Thank you.
So thank you, Praveen and Prabhu. Fantastic. That was a really insightful, experience. And so thanks for the patient listening. We are now opening the session for Q&A. Please use the window on the right side on the top. You've got a Q&A button. Please, use this to type in your questions. And we've got two questions at the moment. And I will start with that and we'll wait for further questions, okay? So I think, Praveen, you spoke about, predictive analytics and IoT in your case study, and perhaps we were not able to find anything insightful about that. Would you be able to elaborate on that, please?
Sure. Sure, and thanks for asking that question. So in this particular case, we had a challenge where the customer were having manufacturing plants with old machines. They were not smart machines because these days machines are smart, so they can predict themselves. Smart machines. So we have one of our solutions where it's a sensor-based and IoT-based predictive analytics solution where we can actually put a sensor on a machine and it can say that this machine is performing as it was performing day before at the same time or not, what time the maintenance is due. It can also talk to the machine next in the queue that, for instance, that, I'm taking too much of a load right now, can we slow down? So those kind of interactions can actually happen machine to machine using this IoT solution. Apart from that, we also have, in-house some other IoT-based solutions and implementation that we have done for our customers. But for this case study, that was one of the implementation that we did. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you. Very insightful. So I've got another question. I think it's a very interesting question and maybe perhaps more technical for my understanding. So the question is, what has been your experience with REST adapters versus PaaS web speed? We have struggled implementing both when you get beyond very basic use cases. Who's going to take that?
Yeah, I will take that. So I think this is a very, very specific to the Progress application or Progress tool set, so I will answer that. Since you are using the terminology PaaS, I'm assuming that you're talking about OpenEdge 11.5 or above, or maybe 11.6, because that's where the PaaS word is become kind of acquainted with the Progress. So the REST adapter is not something which is been with the PaaS. It has been there with the version 11 itself since the time of the build version 11. It got improved and improved with every passing version of OpenEdge. And if you're talking about PaaS specific, that how it works in the REST adapter in the PaaS, actually it got far simplified. Actually, what I'm assuming is, you have not typed the version, but what I'm assuming is that you probably have experience of using the REST adapter in the prior version, and when the PaaS came, then you have struggled with it. But actually, if you really know that how it works with the PaaS, then it further simplified and it becomes really, really easier to do the REST-based services in the PaaS. It becomes really, really easier to do it. So I just need to spend a little bit of time around it, and then you will really understand that how simplified it is. But yes, it is pretty good experience we have with that. Thank you. I think I answered the question.
So thank you, Prabhu. I think there's another question. I think thinking from one of the attendees. It says, do you have any recommendation to make decision on hybrid versus native development? And we have heard something about, I think, some native script as well from Progress, isn't it?
Can I take that?
Okay.
Okay, I'll just check again, probably if you participate. So it's a battle that has been going on for many, many years. But there are certain parameters on which we need to decide that shall we move to native or shall we move to hybrid, because they both have their own advantages and disadvantages. Performance being one of them. User experience is obviously the other one, where native takes precedence over hybrid. By saying this, one of the world's leading apps like Amazon, it's still on hybrid. So it is actually based on the business requirement and what are your key outcomes from the application. If it is too specific, generally B2C applications, they're advised to be in native, but again there are exceptions. But any other application which is not critical, which does not require a lot of offline activities, for instance, can actually be built in hybrid mode. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I'm waiting for any further questions. There's one last question which I have, unless there are some more. So it says we have heard about some changes in Progress strategy recently, I think, and they talk about this cognitive application. So, can you throw some light?
Yeah, I will take that question, Uttam. So when it comes to the strategic changes, I will not go into the corporate side of things, but if you talk about the product lines or the set of product or toolkits and all that, they probably dismantled the digital factory. Now, when you talk about the dismantling, they really did not dump all those products. The Kendo is still there. The SitePrint is still there. All those tele-based products are still there, right?
Yep.
Praveen, you can confirm that, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So all those products are there. So they dismantle only the digital factory, that terminology they use, the things to group together. I think they are probably going to regrouping of the technology stack in a different manner. That's what I'm looking for. And that's where the cognitive application platform which they are talking about, I think is going to evolve over the period of time. It is in a very nascent stage at this time. So we really don't know what all is going to come into that. But we also are looking at what are going to come into that. So thanks. I think there are a few more questions. We have to take up that really fast, okay? So there's a question from one of the attendees. What tool stack do you use for your continuous delivery pipeline, like Jenkins? Who is taking?
I'll take that, and I think the answer is there in the question itself. Of course, we use Jenkins. We also use TFS. For Microsoft platforms, but certainly Jenkins is the widely used one, along with automated tests running, in various technologies. Mocking is important. Making sure that we have got regression builds attached on the continuous delivery. So whenever there's a code comes, the checkout comes in, the first unit test run, integration test run, and the regression automated switch run, and then that moves back to the build moves to QA staging appropriately. So, yeah, I hope I answered the question.
Good. There's one last question you have to take really fast. So, how does Kendo UI work with MS SharePoint as a collaboration tool? I have recently been taken over where SharePoint is the collaboration tool, whereas we have Kendo UI. I think who's able to understand that?
I don't know if I understand the question. But Kendo UI and SharePoint, these two are completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, different things. But then Kendo UI is primarily for web, and SharePoint is again a web development tool. But collaboration, when we talk about collaboration, SharePoint is one of the better collaboration tools, and we use SharePoint for collaboration in JKT as well. But yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to relate the two things together.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there are no more questions, I guess, and that brings us to the end of this webinar. Okay, oh God, there's one last question. I think we'll take that and we'll close it. So, what are the key ingredients to set up a digital lab? Who's going to take?
Okay, I'll take that. And it's, I think to start with, first we need to have a clear vision. And any lab, be it digital or any other lab that we set up, the first objective is to ensure that we add value to the customer's business. And then that also actually opens different revenue streams. So just give you an example, that as part of digital lab, what we do is that we do 2-3 things. One is making sure that if the product team is stuck somewhere technically, the digital lab comes out, help them, give them a push, and then comes back. The second is making sure that we are always surprising the customer positively by our innovation strategies. So for instance, if customer is working on a different business domain, and we can help them with some innovative solution, that actually generates a separate revenue stream for us also going forward. So it's all about vision and making sure that we have got good technical people who are able to do some R&D, POC work, at the same point of time have the mindset of delivering positive surprises to the customers.
So I think that brings us to the end of this discussion. So thank you folks for joining us today for this webinar. We'll be sharing the recordings with you in the next few days. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please feel free to write to us at Meghna.Jaswal, that's on your screen in front of you, and we will get back to you with your response. Okay. So have a great day. Good morning.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.